Thank you for joining Intellectual Radio with your host, the Queen from Chewing the Fat, and my guest, Miss Dion Latham.
Hello.
From Love Foods.
Absolutely.
She'll be joining you shortly, talking to you about great nutrition, ways to save your life, get away from pharmaceutical drugs, and use natural herbs and just the foods from your kitchen that can help you reduce the levels of medicines that you take on a daily basis. Now, to jump right in, first of all, thank you all for joining me today on my debut of Chewing the Fat, where we can gnaw on some hot topics, things in our news, things that are just under our skin. And we have a call-in number that's 708-223-8953. Again, it's 708-223-8953. Don't be afraid to call in because we are about to chew down and gnaw down on the fat. So, in my mind this week, of course, President No, because I would not say his name, he who name I shall not speak, once again, up to his antics. Mm-hmm. There were 4 servicemen killed, and rest in heaven, gentlemen, and for the families, we send our prayers out. They were killed while in active duty. Well, President No decided to reach out and call the family, as some of our presidents do. They tend to call the families and wish and extend their condolences. Well, he happened to pick, and I'm not going to just say, I'm going to pull it out. He picked the African-American family to call, and during this call, Representative Frederica Wilson overheard him on speakerphone because she reported this on CNN. And so this is now confirmed that she heard President No say, well, I guess he knew what he signed up for, but I guess it still hurts. So for me, I was baffled. I was astonished. And if I was a parent of that 25-year-old child, I would have wanted to reach through that phone and grab President No, because of course he knew what he signed up for, to stand up for his country, to fight for this country, to lay his life down for this country, and to serve this country so that we can be safe here on U.S. grounds. And he did this, and you are his commander-in-chief, and this is the extended condolences that you give. Yeah, that's why he never should have made it where he made it. And we have to hurry up and get this thing out of the office. And I said thing. Yeah. So if anyone ever wanted to know my position, I guess you can see it now. You can see it now. Yes. So with this being said, he deflected as usual. And he began to say, oh, well, how many other presidents reached out to families? That is not the correct response. Instead of saying, my apology, I did not realize the depth of what I have said, like any other regular human being who's made a mistake. But of course, it's never a mistake. It's never a mistake. How about he opens his mouth, never thinks, because I don't believe he have a capability of thinking on a presidential level, only in the business world where he should have stayed. So that's my soapbox spill on President No, who needs to go.
I agree.
Okay, so what do you think?
I totally agree with that. I think he's a clown. I mean, that's just it. He looks like a clown, and the information that he puts out here is kind of like he's ad-libbing, you know what I mean? And like making up things as he goes.
I agree.
You know what I mean? It's like nothing. He doesn't follow policy. He's just like whatever I feel like I want to say and whatever I feel like I want to do is what he does. And to me, he treats it like a TV show.
I absolutely agree. Yeah. He still thinks that he's on The Apprentice, and he needs to take this job more seriously if he is to continue on for the next 3 years of this. We also need to extend our condolences to the families of the Radhi Labid Prince shooting. I don't have all of the details, and neither do the authorities, on why this heinous act was done there were 6 shot, 3 dead, and 2 critically injured in Maryland and Delaware. So let's please keep those families lifted up, including the family of Mr. Prince, because sometimes we do not know what's in the minds of our family members when they act out. So let's just keep that in our mind.
Absolutely.
Now, in NFL news, I want to definitely, those of you know that I am a huge fan of NFL as well as other sports. And of course, they went in on Tuesday to discuss negotiations about the protests against the national anthem due to police misconduct and injustices around the world that we see on an everyday basis. And we do know that injustices in inner city communities have become one of the most underserved yet overindulged crime by our police department. And so now it is taking national attention from Kaepernick, who decided now to, of course, go back after his contract was about to be up and he needed a new one. He went back. Then that's just my spiel on it. He went back, but there are still NFL players that still stood up, and it went nowhere. What they did say was, we will move forward, we will negotiate, we will try to help buffer and do training camps and things of that nature, but it went nowhere, and they are still not going to remove the national anthem. It still will be there. And another thing that I noticed that NFL did, they behaved like a pre-K. They did not invite Kaepernick to this large meeting of the minds of NFL owners and players and executives. And I felt that they just went into a mindset of, hey, you didn't play well in a sandbox, so I'm not going to invite you to my birthday party. You just don't behave that way. If you want to move forward and you want to show us that you're moving forward, and this is a business, absolutely, and this is the way that you said this is a business. You can't conduct yourself like this on a business. We said this is policy. We don't want you kneeling or sitting down on the national anthem. This is a business. So if you want us to respect you, NFL, as a business, then when it comes to inviting all of the NFL players, everyone should be invited. You should not be able to ostracize anyone from coming to that meeting because they stood a ground. Absolutely. So that's my spiel again on the soapbox on NFL. So how do you feel about the NFL?
I feel the same. You can't silence people. You know, it's a constitutional right to be able to speak up and to be heard. You can't pick and choose when you want to take that, you know, away from us. Absolutely. It's there, and we should use it as much as we possibly can. You know, there were so many years when we could not speak. There were so many years when we were not allowed to, you know, give our voice. Yes. And now that that law has been placed in there by the U.S. government, you can't take it back from us when you feel like we're doing something that you don't like.
Exactly. So in your words, you're saying we're exercising our freedom of speech.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely,
in their defense, and I'm not defending them, but this is what they said, quote unquote, this is a business. So in my business and in my corporation, you are not able to decide when to speak out against certain things. If I say you have to stand for the national anthem, you have to stand. As in any other business, there are rules and there are policies that you have to follow. And so because you signed this contract, this is the business and this is what you have to do. But however, this young man has also saw, or some say he was privileged and did not see it firsthand, whatever the reason may be. If he did not see it firsthand, if he saw it secondhand, injustice is injustice.
Absolutely.
So we don't want to not say that we are not going to acknowledge that this is an injustice. We have to be able to say that we have to stand firmly on the national anthem was not built for all people, and it is offensive to some of us.
Absolutely.
And this is the grounding that a lot of Americans took. This is the grounding that so many of us take, even with the Constitution. I've been saying since a little girl that the Constitution should have been looked over again, rewritten, because all people were not included. It is not inclusive for all people.
I think that that's my thing about the national anthem, is that they don't go far and talk about what's all in that national anthem. It's like they only, let it go to certain parts of it, and we don't discuss the entire anthem and understand why people don't agree with it. Absolutely. You know what I mean? If they were to put all of the national anthem out, because a lot of people don't even know what it actually says, not even white people.
Exactly.
So a lot of white people don't even know.
Great
so
point.
If they were to put that out there and let everybody know exactly what it says, maybe we should start posting that, the true version of it. Then maybe people will understand and get on board.
Exactly. And as in so many other things in history that has got watered down over hundreds of years, and we were taught to read and listen to whatever they told us over the years, and we were not brainwashed, but I'm gonna choose wisely, but whitewashed, say this, so to speak. Christopher Columbus discovered America, not. Who invented certain parts of electricity, and then when you look over history, we were the founders of this country. If not us, it was the Native Americans. If not the Native Americans, it was the Aztec Americans. Absolutely. If it was not, it was the triple blend of all of us. Absolutely. That helped bring this country together, and we still are not being acknowledged and commended for the great works that we have done. No, we don't want 40 acres and a mule, because that would never give us anything, but we do want the acknowledgments of what we have done, how we have pushed forward our agendas, and not to be misused in our communities as though we still do not exist. We are taking 2 steps forward, and they're pulling us 5 steps backwards every time you get President No-Nos in the office, and they are talking about building the walls and taking away health care for people in inner cities who actually need it to live. And you're saying, oh, I'm going to dismantle this because you don't deserve health care because you're poor, but we're going to make sure that the hierarchies are able to pay for their health care. So thank God that the reversal was done, and he agreed to the bill that was going across. Now, Congress may not agree to have this going forth, but we are so delighted that at least this piece have passed across, because so many people that have chronic illnesses and so many people that cannot afford health care would have been set to the side of the road, so to speak, or to the side of the grave, so to speak.
I just got 2 points to say to that, what you were saying about, us not getting the credit. A lot of the things that we invented were just right out taken from us because we were not able to patent them.
Absolutely.
So the patents went to the people who had the money. So we taught them everything that they, knew, and they took our ideas and patent our ideas and took them away from us, which leads to the point. That's why it's so important to support Black business.
Absolutely.
It is so important to support Black business. We will never get back to where we were if we do not support each other. And we used to be entrepreneurs long time ago. Our grandfathers and great grandfathers, we were all entrepreneurs.
Mom and pop shops.
Of course.
Absolutely.
And so now some people think when you go out there to start your business, it's foreign to them because they don't understand, because the norm is to get up and go to work every day. So when you step out there to do for yourself, they think you're crazy, but we have to support each other. Yeah.
Speaking of stepping out,
yes,
starting your own business, you have been an RN how many years?
I've been an LPN for 16 years.
LPN for 16 years.
Yes.
And you decided to do what?
I decided to quit my job and step out there and start my own business, which is Love Foods here. It's my company. And that company was started because I first used to educate people on healthy eating. I will always speak about it on my page, and I will always post different pictures of salads, and people start telling me, okay, well, if you're going to take this and that away from me, then what am I going to eat? So I decided to take the excuses away from them and start creating plant-based meals and food so people can eat. And the response has been overwhelmingly good. Yes. And I am very grateful for my customers and the people that are calling out to me. So it's only me, so just give me time. I will get to everybody, but I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, I always say, eat to live, do not live to eat.
Absolutely.
And what I'm saying is, we have to watch our consumptions because it catch up with us.
Absolutely.
Everything that we put in our body, that little commercial, I mean, that little cartoon infomercial we used to see when we were kids, and it used to say, we are what we eat.
Absolutely.
From our head to our feet.
Mm-hmm.
That was the absolute truth.
Yes.
And we used to maybe dance around to that little commercial or infomercial when we were young and thought it was cute, but it was setting the stage for the realness of what our bodies were going to be right now, today, at my 46 plus years.
Absolutely.
It was setting the stage that I should have been watching what I eat, because it was going to matter from my head to my feet.
Right.
And instead of eating to live and loving to eat and just put in the food, because sometimes we eat for comfort. We eat because we're depressed. We eat because it's social time. It makes us happy. We eat just because other people are just eating. We're not even hungry. It's a void we're trying to fuel. And if we do that, we need to pick healthier choices.
Right.
You know, I've learned, I used to say, Doritos were from hell, because I used to love to eat Doritos, with the hot sauce on it. But I substituted those Doritos for carrot sticks. You have to learn how to substitute the things that are not healthy for your body and that would break your body down eventually in the long run, and also pack the pounds on.
Absolutely.
And when we were talking about cancer, one of the things, there are at least 10 cancers that's connected to obesity, that if you don't watch what you eat, you are predispositioned to have cancer.
Absolutely.
So we just have to watch
you know what? I want to make a point to what you're saying as far as this transition goes. What I tell people all the time is that a mindset change has to happen first, or else you will not be successful in your endeavors to change the way you eat.
Absolutely.
Because what you just said about food, like sometimes we call them comfort food. No, it's uncomfortable food. That is the way that we need to look at it. It is uncomfortable food, because half the time it make you uncomfortable. It make you bloated. It make you sick. You have to take Pepsi. You have to do all these other things to combat what this food is doing to you. And not only that, if you change the way you look at food, like when I tell people all the time, look at your plate. And when you look at your plate, look at what's on it, and look at each thing on there and ask yourself what it does to you. Besides being a nurse for all of those years, it made it easy for me, to change my diet. But I started looking at my plate differently.
Yeah.
Like when people put a soul food plate in front of them, okay, you see greens with ham hocks in there. Then you got mac and cheese. You got candy yams full of sugar. You got rice that's starch.
That's all of those breakdowns to glucose and sugar.
Absolutely.
And people do not understand it. And the portion size.
Yes.
The portion size is very important.
Absolutely.
And I think that we, as African American community, we love to spread, and with Thanksgiving approaching, and for at least, I want to say 12 years, my family can even witness this. My portion sizes, my plate sizes, and the things that I place on my plate are the normal things that I would eat on any other given day.
Absolutely.
Because it's Thanksgiving does not mean that I'm going to overindulge. I'm going to stuff myself. I'm going to have gluttony.
Right.
And you just have to be mindful of what you do, and your body will become disciplined and conditioned that the inside of your stomach plate will not even allow you to consume that much food. And so you just have to be mindful of all the starches, all those things that's breaking down into the sugars and the fats and the calories.
For me, I'm a little bit, up in your face with it. I get a little bit more graphic, meaning like when I look at the foods, I tell people look at high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, stroke. When you're looking at your food and you see all of these things on there, that's how I look at it. But when you put a plate of plant-based foods on your, in front of you, and to me, I see vitamins, nutrients, electric foods, longevity. I see you turning back the hands of time, as far as the fountain of youth. To me, that's how you have to look at your food in order to change your mindset about the way that you eat.
Absolutely. And I was in a grocery store maybe 2 weeks ago, and it was 2 weeks ago on a Sunday, and I was shopping, and the lady behind me had her cart, and she looked over in mine. She said, "Oh my God, you eat so healthy. You make me not want to put my things on the conveyor belt.
Happened to me too.
And
yeah,
because I kept wondering why she wasn't putting her
Yes.
things up, and I kept pushing and scooting my stuff up further. And
Yeah.
kept saying, come on.
Yes.
And she said, no, you make me not. I said, oh no, trust me, it comes with discipline.
Yes, it does.
Comes,
It takes time.
you know, this doesn't happen overnight. Take your time. I say moderation, you know, because I don't ever want to look down on anyone. I don't want to make them feel any more bashful than what they need to be, because it takes time.
It does.
and it takes work. And
Yes, it does.
again, it does not happen overnight. But what I do want you to do is to start somewhere. Start somewhere, because we have to know that all of these pre-existing diseases, we did not hear about this as little as 30 years ago. All of these lupus, fibromyalgia, sarcoidosis, cancer, all of these different forms of cancer. We have liver diseases, kidney diseases, so many things that are breaking, all blood diseases that are breaking down our bodies, respiratory illnesses.
Absolutely.
All of these different allergies that we are now becoming so used to, that it's so common now. And I know it's the foods that we're eating.
I was gonna say,
I know it's the pesticides that's being sprayed all over the food.
Absolutely.
And the modified foods.
Yes.
So
that's why we're gonna have to go back to start, growing our own gardens
and gardening.
And that's something that I would definitely like to work with you on this summer. Maybe we can get a lot somewhere, and we can just start growing for our communities, even for our own families. We have to teach people how to do that, because in a minute you're gonna have to grow your own food. You're not gonna be able to eat any of it.
Absolutely. And I am a gardener. Learned it firsthand from my mom. And if you can remember, she had a large lot, 2 sides. And all she did was garden. And for over, I don't know, 60 years, my mom had nothing. My father lived to be almost 80. He absolutely never went to the doctor, went to the doctor. And when he passed away was when he had the first stroke, and the second stroke, and had never went to the doctor in his life. He was born in 1912. So my father was older, but he had never went to the doctor in his life. And so he would boast on that. But that's because they farmed, they gardened, and they did things naturally themselves. And I am proud to say that one of my cousins, Nathaniel III, and his wife Robin, they have their own really thriving farm. And it's called the Shannon's Farm, and it's down in Indiana, and it's a really great farming land.
Can you buy from them, or
you can buy from them? They're going to come on the show, and we're going to talk about even about the black farmers, and all of those different things. So we're gonna chew the fat on that a little later, and we're gonna talk about that, because it's very important to us to get back to what we know how to do, because if we don't, we are going to have plenty more diseases coming up, and new ones, if they keep on trying out this new stuff.
To a point of what you said as far as the gardening goes, what a lot of the younger people don't realize is that our older ancestors used to cure themselves from the garden.
Absolutely.
That's where, and what a lot of people don't know is that that's where medication comes from.
Those herbs.
They go to the herbs, and they go to the ground, and they get the herbs, and then they mix it with chemicals and give it to you. When those chemicals added to it, it's not in the purest form anymore. But if we just go back to that kind of thing, it's almost like the same as when people eat meat. Like, why do you eat meat? I eat it for protein. Okay, but the animals that you're eating eat grass. You know what I mean? They eat grass and green vegetables. That's where they get their protein. So why don't you just, omit the middleman, let the animals live, and just go ahead and eat you some greens.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of the best things that we can take away.
Yes.
Eating those green leafy vegetables. And that's almost all the way around the board. They ask us to do that with every disease, every blood disease. They tell us just about, the only one is, I think it's if you're on a blood thinner.
Blood thinner.
They ask
it
us
can coagulate.
Yes,
you
it
can get a clot.
coagulates.
Yeah,
That's
so
right.
You definitely have to be careful with that. But with anything else, you know, and I really hate to hear people. I hear some people say, I can't eat salad or I can't eat fruit because I'm allergic. But they're not actually allergic to the salad and the fruit. They're allergic to the pesticides.
I want to
and
tell
the chemicals.
I want to tell you that you taught my daughter that when we had the stilettos and standards conference last year around this time.
Yes.
So she bought organic fruit. Remember, she thought she could not eat fruit anymore.
Yeah.
She bought organic fruit. No, of course, no pesticides or things on there. She can eat fruit again.
Oh, that's wonderful.
She can eat fruit again. And so that was something that she was missing for maybe 5 years. And so all the way up to about 22, my daughter all of a sudden could not eat any fruits anymore. And so you taught her, well, hey, try this. And because of the pesticides, and she went and bought organic fruit, and she is so ecstatic because she can eat fruit. Fruit was one of her main things.
Absolutely.
So she's very happy.
I always tell people the creator would never create something like coming from the ground that our body won't tolerate. There's no way that we need fruit and vegetables to live. There's no way that the creator, of course. And speaking of that, what you said, I want to speak to that digestive system and let people know something extremely important, and that is gut health. That is your gut health. What a lot of people don't know is that disease starts in the gut. You know what I mean? There is a disease called leaky gut syndrome that is actually responsible for probably almost all disease.
Wow.
Because the doctors will tell you they don't know where this is coming from, where that is coming from. But actually what's happening is that when people eat the bad foods and they're allowing the in your intestines, one of your intestines is where your absorption takes place.
Okay.
So what happens is when you're not going to the bathroom properly and you're sitting there with all of this waste, what happens over time is that waste starts to leak into your bloodstream and it makes you sick and it starts causing other diseases that the doctor's like, I don't know what's going on. So if you keep your gut healthy, you know what I mean, by eating your fruits, your vegetables, especially parsley is a gut cleaner. You eat some parsley every day. That's going to clean your system out, your gut out, keep you fresh breath, all of that stuff. And cilantro. One more.
Put it in
parsley
your blender.
And cilantro. Put it in your blender. Drink it, eat it. It's going to get in that stomach and that gut, and it's going to annihilate a whole bunch of things.
And you know what? I totally agree with you, because a lot of times when people begin to gain their weight, it starts sitting in their stomach.
Absolutely.
When you look at high cholesterol, they start to find all of the fatties in the stomach. When they pull, I just want you to know, when they pull you down from the morgue and they pull that stuff out of your stomach, the first thing they're pulling out is the glob from your stomach.
Absolutely.
So those things, I can believe the leaky bowels.
No, that is how they know, like a lot of toxicology reports. They empty their stomach contents on a lot of things as well as blood, but that's how they know.
Yeah. So, you know, I can really understand that stomach. And also the doctors that deal with the colons, they'll tell you in a moment, you're holding all the bad waste in the gut area, and they'll tell you about the fibers that you need to do, the foods you need to eat to clean it out. They don't tell you to use medicines. They tell you what foods that need to be consumed to get rid of the waste.
And one more thing about your gut, this is your solar plexus. So this area here where your gut, your stomach is, this is your command center, like for your life. What a lot of people think is like the brain is like the number one, but you got a lot of things going on in your stomach and your solar plexus area. So if you keep this area clean, you're going to be clean mentally, spiritually, physically, all over the place. It's going to do a whole bunch of things.
Eliminate the waste.
Eliminate the waste. Absolutely.
You make no haste.
Absolutely.
All right. And so I love talking about living life, changing your lifestyle, changing the way that we want to live, because medical science have changed, but medical science have changed by giving us medicine.
Absolutely.
And I know that I always call it the pharmaceutical game, where, you know, the pharmacists, the pharmaceutical companies walk in, tell the doctors, we have this introduction to the new medicines. This is the kickback that we give you.
Yes, ma'am.
And we have this kickback, and we'll give you this.
And they try
you out on this prescribed drug. And then 5 years later, there's a commercial on the news saying, oh, if you had the mesh bag, you are now entitled to
Absolutely.
this class action lawsuit for so many X amount of millions of dollars, because you have become the guinea pig for whatever new product, new medicine, or new whatever pharmaceutical and medicine industry have decided to try on you. And we don't know, because we are so desperate looking for relief. We don't know that the relief is already here. We just have to go right into our herbs. Our Native American ancestors have taught us that. Our African American ancestors have taught us that, and our Aztec citizens have taught us that. And so we have to understand that if we don't go back to the old time way, we won't have a new way.
Absolutely.
We're gonna have a genocide on our people. We think that the crime is going to be the number one wipeout, but it's going to be our food consumption and what we are eating and the disease that is going to wipe us out.
Yes, and pay attention to the commercials. This is what I tell people all the time.
Yes.
Please pay attention to the commercials when they are prescribing or showing you a new medication. Listen to the side effects very closely on the medications, because it'll tell you all of these good things at first, but then they're going to take up about 30 seconds in side effects, you know, of the medication. And what you have to understand is that your liver and your kidneys are not going to be able to withstand so many years of those medications. You're going to end up on kidney dialysis, or you're going to end up in liver failure. So those two things are absolutely going to happen, you know, to you. So you got to pay attention to what you're putting in your body. And then one medicine is going to cause a side effect for another medicine to be added onto you, and then by the time you know it,
medicine,
of course, you're gonna be popping out like 13 to 14 pills every day. And there is hope, though. I don't want to, you know, for us to be, you know, saying so many things are bad. There is hope. With a diet change, you could turn around so many things. I knew a doctor who did a experiment on a patient who was a diabetic for 16 years and took 16 days on a plant-based diet, and he was not a diabetic anymore.
Well, I was diagnosed with diabetes in my early 20s. I changed my eating habits. I exercise, and same with high blood pressure. Early 20s, ate right, exercise. Haven't taken anything for either one in over 20 plus years.
It works.
So it works. Same with my lupus. Same with my other chronic illnesses. A lot of people don't know that I have the illnesses, and they look at my skin. Well, why don't you have the spots? Well, why don't you have this? But because my eating habits, my lifestyle, my eating lifestyle is different. Now, some of the medicine that they prescribe, I do take it. So I'm not
there is a place for medicine.
I'm not suggesting that there is a place for medicine. I'm not suggesting that you do not take your medicine. Listen, PSA, I'm not suggesting that you do not take your medicine, because I do take my medicine. But I would not take all medicines that are prescribed to me. I do look at the side effects. I do watch what is crossing over to the next medication. Always research what has been given to you, and look for alternatives. Always look for alternatives. Thank you for adding that, Dion. Always look for alternatives, because I do. I'm not a fan of steroids. I'm not a fan of prednisone, so I choose not to take that as an anti-inflammatory. I take other herbs and things as an anti-inflammatory.
And there are many you can use.
And there are so many, ginger and all kind of different things. It's so many, garlic, and it's just so many different. Turmeric is one of the best. And I have turmeric, and that's great for lupus. If you wanted to know, great for lupus. Anyone out there with lupus, or anybody with rheumatoid arthritis, turmeric. I promise you, your joints will feel so much better. And I don't know how much to tell you about turmeric. I'm telling you, I don't take any other. I don't take ibuprofen, because all it's doing, it's tearing down the liver and the kidney. So I really don't even take.
And actually, cherry juice as well.
Really,
cherry juice is like natural pain reliever. I had a patient one time who asked me, could I get his cherry juice out of the refrigerator? And I asked him, I said, what do you know about that? He said, I don't take as many pain medications when I take my cherry juice. And I was so excited that he knew about that. Now, if you get cherry juice, not the concentrated, but it's going to be really thick, you know, the real cherry juice. So it's going to cost you about $25 for probably like a half a gallon or whatever.
But it's concentrated.
It's concentrated. So you take a little bit, you know, 30 cc's or whatever per day, cherry juice, or even just eat real cherries, you know, when they're in season. But cherry juice is extremely well for inflammation and pain.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, I am so glad that you have sat here and you chewed the fat with us
Thank you.
on health, food, nutrition, and herbs and love foods.
Absolutely.
Now, tell us, how can we get in contact with you about Love Foods?
Okay.
How do we get in contact with you? Tell us a little bit about Love Foods, because I don't think you did.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Love Foods is a plant-based company. Like I said before, I wanted to give people alternatives other than eating meat.
Okay.
So you can look at my page on Facebook, Love Foods, LOVEFOODS, not with the FOOD. There's a page called Love Food. Mine is LOVFODFOODS. Sorry, but that is my page. You can go and see all of the things that I'm offering. I am actually going to be adding entire meals.
Nice.
So that, because right now I offer salads, smoothies, and vegetarian chili that I cannot keep because it keeps selling out. Every time I make it, I have to make double. I need a bigger pot. I need a big stupid pot, to make it in.
Soup kitchen pot.
Kitchen pot. Okay. But I lived on the west side all of my life, and my goal is to be on the west side. For my people.
Absolutely.
I would love to get me a space on the west side, because living there all this time, I could never find any vegetarian food.
Yeah, we
never.
Had to either
it's like a desert. I had to go out south or to have Park
Randolph,
or to Oak Park or something like that. So there's nothing else. Barney's used to be up there on Roosevelt.
Yeah, Barney's is still there, but they don't serve.
They don't serve food anymore, and that was the only place that we had to go to get healthy food.
Because even he goes south.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's my goal. My goal is to be, stationed on the west side for my people and still travel. But Love Foods is coming up. I plan to make it bigger and better, and to save. My goal is to save as many lives as I possibly can, and to get as many people off medication.
Yes. Off medication. Off medication is the key.
Yes.
Off medication is the key.
Yes.
Well, I want to chat about and chew on and gnaw on a little Chicago news.
Okay.
So yesterday was a city council meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Sliding into that city council meeting, slid in there for a little while, and the 2018 budget was up. And I looked at the 2018 budget, and they had some neighborhood improvement going. They had police reform budget in. They had home budgets. We're supposed to get a kickback from home budget. But what got me was $25 million will be spent in education.
Okay.
Which was great. I thought, no, 27 million will be spent in police training for reform. To implement reform and increase the 911 fee so the responders can have better coordination to get to and from the destinations of emergency. Okay. So the 27 million for that staffing and for that reform and that training, it's supposed to be so the officers can be more in tune with our community, more hands-on with our community. So I would like to see how that goes coming forth. I would love to see how that is implemented in our communities. Will it be more officer friendly as we grew up with, or will it be more of the same old business as usual, good old boy in blue, and just money to hire new officers to do the same thing? I'm very interested in knowing how this will go going forward. But what is a great thing, Lisa Manigan put over, and he didn't know while he was doing this city meeting that she was already in play of putting a federal mandate over the city of Chicago Police Department. So we now have an appointed federal agent to look over our department because of so many lawsuits over the past years of police misconduct and abuse.
That's wonderful.
So that's a wonderful thing. There's also a 15% budget expansion in education, which serves about $15,000 more students. So that's 80,000 children that'll be served throughout the schools in safe passages. So I thought that was pretty good, because keeping our children safe while they come to and from school, while they're in the after school programs, it's very important because of how high the crime rate is now. They're going to now peer 8th through 10th graders with a mentor. So that's very important. If you can grab them while they're young, I wish they can grab them younger. It could have started from 4th grade up. If they could have, got the money for that, it would have been awesome.
Yes.
As young as you can grab them would be excellent.
And, speaking of that, I'm glad you said that, because maybe I would like to go to, some of these city council meetings, or reach out to some of my aldermen, because maybe we can get some programs together or some money and some funds where we can take these children and show them how to garden. Do some horticulture.
They need some more horticulture classes. And I do know that our Latino American schools, they have a wonderful horticulture program.
Yes, they do.
And it's one school that had a farming program where they were working with real farm animals and doing all of those great things.
Yes.
And we need to have
just not in our community. So I would definitely like to get started with that.
So it would be wonderful if inner city community children would have that opportunity to know how. There were like I said, it's $23 million in funding that's going into the neighborhoods.
Okay.
Especially with small businesses that say that they will hire people from the community. Now, how will we know that they're hiring people from the community is one of my questions.
Yeah.
So I was always thinking, remember when you can walk into a place and it would have like a placard up that says, I call 911, we do neighborhood watch. Yes. I would like to see a sign that I hire community residents.
Yes, absolutely.
I want to see that so that we can know. And so people in the residents can identify with someone, a clerk or someone behind that register may be a resident of that community.
Yes.
We need to know.
Then maybe it'll go back to your neighborhood grocery store for real. Because now you have people in the grocery store that are actually from your neighborhood.
Yes. And that's what we want to see. More people employed in our community. And that also helps press down the violence in the community, because that's less criminal activity in the community from people trying to sell drugs, to supply food and lights and gas and all of those different things, because they feel that they have these X's on their back and they can't get a job anywhere else. This is also another thing that also should be looked at. Do you hire ex-offenders?
Yes.
Will you hire ex-offenders? Ex-offenders who have X's on their back come out of jail. Jail was supposed to be designed to be a reform.
Yes.
So if you're coming out to be reformed and I still can't get a job, you're sending me back out into the street to do the same criminal activity that I no longer really wanted to do anymore. But I have a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old looking at me like, mommy and daddy, feed me.
And I was going to say that is the problem with a lot of the children in our neighborhoods. They have nothing to do. I was speaking to a counselor the other day and telling them that one of my sons, the problem came when he got too old to go to the park district, when he got too old, to be involved in this, kiddie basketball program. Before he got too old, I never worried about him. He stayed at the park district from sun up to sundown. He woke his own self up at 7 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays to go. But it was after that. Now what?
Now,
you know what I mean? Now what?
I would like to see more job training.
Yes.
Or trade training programs.
Trade.
Everyone is not studious. Everyone is not going to be college bound. Everyone will not gain employment in corporate America. But if you give a sister, a brother, a trade, they can survive.
And they can start their own business.
Plumbing, carpentry, you name it. They can start their own business. Teach them how to be entrepreneurs. Teach them, find out what their passions and career is. So that $23 million should be really used for community funding and development. And they should ask the community, what is it that you want? Don't just put this money aside and you figure out what to do with it, but have a town hall meeting and ask us, how do you think this money would be useful in your community and how it would be spent? And so people, I beseech you, pull up the city calendar, find out when these city council meetings are, when they meet at your congressman office. There are always something going on at City Hall or in your neighborhood. So just keep on looking. Just keep on finding it. And so I also want to let you all know as well, with that, they wanted to put a $1.5 million into abating for rats. We have a rat problem.
Yes.
We have a city rat problem, but it's a lot of dirty rats around here.
And
so,
not only crawling on the ground.
And it's not the ones that's crawling on the ground.
Yeah.
And I understand that we have to do some type of cleanup with the abating, but my problem is 1.5 million. I really can find a place to put 1.5 million into education.
Yes.
We can put 1.5 million into programs, into high school programs that are suffering with old textbooks and old paint chipping and no swimming, no computer
Give back some of those programs. When you and I went, we went to the same high school.
Yes.
We had home ec classes. We had carpentry. We had wood shop. We had all of those things, sewing.
And they left with certification.
Okay.
You left with certification. And we took those classes and we still have those skills. And so
remember the reset program?
The reset program. And so we had all of those things. And these children are leaving out, just with the education of walking away with their educational portfolios, and some are not going to college.
Yeah.
And so they're still idled and they're at home and they are not doing anything. And then they wind up in the fast food restaurants. And there's nothing wrong with working at the fast food restaurants, but also give them an opportunity if they're going to work there part-time, but give them an opportunity to also get a career
and ownership.
And maybe they want to be a franchise owner, but show them how to become a franchise owner, set them up for a business mindset. So we want to be able to always advance our youth. Advance our youth and our young adults.
Yeah. And take some of that money, like you said, and let's do some classes on teaching people how to start their own businesses. We need more Black businesses. We need to become as independent as we possibly can. And I think for me in my journey in starting my own business, one of the best things that I could say is that I was able to hire my son, who's not working. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So, he on my payroll now making, money every day, when he wasn't doing anything. So that's one of the best things. And I'm looking to hire other children as well. So that's one of the start a business, hire your family.
Yes. And that's how I did with my daycare. My children were my older children were my daycare workers, and they had to get, training hours and things like that. And now, one of my daughters, she was able to use her experience and grow higher, as a probation officer. And then she substitute teached at high school level and all of those different things. So when she got out of school, she had all of those different things on her resume. And so that 1.5 million, I'm telling you, grab somebody with a flute, play those little rats right over to a quarry and set them on fire.
Give us that money.
Give us the 1.5 million to go somewhere else and do something else more positive, more pushing forth more positive programs in our city, because we want to build our city up, because we see so much negativity in the news. But if we had more things for our people to do, then we would have less idle time. I'm only thinking about the young man yesterday who knocked the older gentleman down for his cell phone on the train track. What was his mindset? What was he thinking? How long has this young man been in that state of mind? What would make him grab, what was the gentleman, 87 years old, grab his cell phone and knock him down as though he was pushing down a cart of groceries? You never,
that's that psychology in you, because that's something that I always say, and I've gotten into it with people about that, because I was like, what, I would really like to talk to that person. And they're like, oh, what you want to talk to them for? They're a murderer, this and that, because you have to understand where these people coming from and how did they get to the point that they're at. We're not born like that. Something has to happen.
Triggered.
Something has to trigger.
Yes. And you're right. It's the psychologist in me that makes me have to wonder, where is your mindset? What are you thinking? What were you doing that day that made you look up to this? That made you look up at this gentleman and say, well, today I'm gonna take his cell phone. And because elderly people and children are one of my passions that I have always wanted to protect. And so I've always said it's very difficult for me to watch or see anyone abuse, misuse, neglect those two groups of people, because they are vulnerable. They cannot really defend themselves, and so they need to be protected. And so when I saw what happened yesterday, But then when they put the still camera video on that young man and I looked at his face, I said, this little boy, he's a little boy. He's really not a grown man. He's really, his mind is really not that developed. Something went on in this young man's life that made him turn out to be this beast.
Absolutely.
What happened? What happened?
That's what we really have to find out instead of just throwing them in jail all the time. If you're going to throw them there, somebody really needs to talk to them and find out. Because if you don't get to the root of the problem when they get out of there, they're only going to be the same way.
They're going to be the same.
You have to go to the root and find out what
they're going to be the same way, because when you put them in jail back with the same people who are not trying to reform themselves, and you put that same person in there, you don't give them anything, or you're trying to give them some of these courses or classes, but you're not tracking them when they get out. And that's another thing. If you're going to give them these programs, track them, not just a probation officer, but because that's something that's mandated that you have to do, but track them in a positive way. Okay, you took these certification classes, so you need a person that tracks you over your certification.
Absolutely.
Okay, what are you doing with this certification? Have you looked for employment in this area?
Or lead them in a direction.
Here are some referrals. Here are some places. Well, how did this go out? Look for John Hanley. He has this business that does this, and tell him we sent you here. Those are the type of things that should come with that, instead of just opening the doors, sending them out, giving them their belongings that they got locked up with, and a bus card, and sending them home. And that's what they do. And so they're sending them right back out to the same environment, and they continue the same vicious cycle. The same vicious cycle to repeat over and over again. Over and over again. So if you guys still want to call in at 708-223-8953, you still have a chance to chime in and chew the fat. If you want to gnaw on something, you can gnaw on something. If something passionate is in your soul, if my live feed is breaking up, you can log on to IntellectualRadio.com yourself, and you can view the live feed. Mine may be breaking up, but your signal may be stronger. I may be a little weak here in the studio, but yours can be strong wherever you're sitting. So log in yourself, and then you can pull it up, the feed up yourself. Thank you guys for letting me know it's coming in and out, and thank you for still staying with me. I appreciate you on Chewing the Fat. We're going to fix that technical difficulty by the next time you see me. So another thing that I wanted to talk about, and this is going to also make some sense to you when I say this to you. It's one of the things that have always I've been passionate about as well, our young women. Our young women, and how we have become so relaxed in allowing. And because this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and this is sort of like a Women's Month. We had Women's Week. I think this is Women's Week this week, they announced. And since this is Women's Week, I wanted to touch a little basis for our young women, and I want you all to listen in. We've gotten comfortable in positioning ourselves as our head of the household when we have men within our households. And I don't have a problem with being the educated one or the one who brings in more money. That's never been a problem, but you have to allow your mate or your man to be the man.
That's very true. And it's not, and like you said, it's not always about money. And I think the funny thing is, a lot of men think that we look at it that way, but we don't. You still need to stand up and be a man, whether I make more money than you or not. Because if you're allowing me to like run over you, or you're feeling intimidated or whatever because I'm making more money, then you've lost your position. You know what I mean? In this relationship, you lost your position. You still have to maintain your manhood no matter what.
Yeah, and I've always boasted about that. I know my position. The Bible makes it clear for me. I have no problem with allowing the man to be the head of the household, whether I bring in the most or he brings in the most. You can be the head, but I would not follow you to doom. I will follow you if you're leading me to a great destination. So I want you all to understand, keep your crowns on, men and women, and know your position, and don't allow yourselves to give up the hope. That's all for today on Chewing the Fat. Thank you for joining your host, the Queen, and my guest, Dion Latham, while we gnawed on a few topics and subjects. Until next time, stay awake and be back soon. Mwah, smooches.